Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men all my life. Like na 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 na. For my top 10, top 10, na 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 na. This one's for my top 10. Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men all my life. Like na 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 na. For my top 10, na 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 na. This one's for my top 10.
Rule number 21, act on your ideas.
Hello there and welcome. Do you know, almost everyone has a great idea, and they're going to execute their great idea. I have all kinds of people come to me, I've got a great idea I'd like to share with you. What they do is they want me to execute their idea. Why don't they execute their idea? When you get a real good idea, you should act on it. People have ideas of starting a business. I've started a number of different businesses. Question is where to start. You start where you are, and you start with what you've got. That's all you need. When you start where you are and with what you've got, and you bring your mind to focus on that idea, you will attract everything to you that you need. You are taught, seek ye first his kingdom in its righteousness, and all these things will be given to us. See, when you learn to focus on something, you get on a frequency. And when you're on that frequency, you start to attract whatever you want. You may not have any money. You may not have the resources that you need to execute, to build it into something big. That doesn't matter. All the resources that you need to do anything you want to do is already here. But you've got to get in touch with them. You've got to get in harmony with them, and boom, you'll rush them into your life. You'll attract the money, the people, the thoughts, the things, everything you need, you'll attract to you. So where do you start? You always start where you are, and you start with what you've got. Don't be looking at what you don't have. Think of what you do have. Fall in love with your idea and get it rolling.
Rule number 22, believe.
You tell yourself a lie often enough, you're going to start to believe it. And way around 1900, William James said, believe, and your belief will create the fact. It's got to be believed. You've got to believe it. And if there's no belief, it ain't going to happen. See, when you believe it, you're encased in the idea. You fuse with the idea. And that makes all kinds of things happen. When you believe it, there's no quitting. You never quit. It doesn't matter what happens. You don't quit. Quitting is never an option. The people that quit, they never really bought into the idea in the first place. See, you've got to, you get it on three levels. The second you think of something, you've got it intellectually. When you get emotionally involved, you've got it on a spiritual or emotional level. Well, then that expresses itself through the body. Body's just an instrument of your mind. And so when you really buy into it, you literally fuse with it. Neville said you fuse with it. And this causes all kinds of things to happen. You're dealing with electronics. You're dealing with energy. Like the second you think something, that's all you need. See, you live on frequencies. You think on frequencies. Your phone operates on frequencies. And it's like magic. You're in Romania, are you?
Right.
I'm in Toronto.
Yes.
If I've got your number on my phone, I could take a picture of something, hit it like that. You've got it in Romania. Simultaneous with me sending it. Because when you get into the mind, there isn't any time or space.
It's just immediate.
Yeah. Well, you're living on frequencies. Now, when you think of something, what you've done is you've flipped your brain onto a higher frequency. The very fact you can see it is all the proof you need to know you could get it. What you have to do is raise your love consciousness to that frequency. And then you will attract whatever's on that frequency. All the good you need to manifest the idea.
Rule number 23, overcome fear.
Overcoming fear is one of the greatest moves a person can make. First of all, we have to ask ourselves what causes fear. Fear is caused by ignorance, not knowing. And if we're going to go and do anything new, if we're going to break out of a paradigm, if we're going to change habit patterns, we're wandering into an area we've never been. And you know, fear stops most people. You'll find people afraid to talk to a stranger. You'll find individuals afraid to stand up and ask a question in front of other people. You'll find salespeople afraid to make a sales call, afraid to ask for the order. Stop and think of how confining that is. A person's putting themselves into a small cell, but it's in their own mind. The doors aren't locked. They can open, and you can walk away to freedom if you learn to overcome fear. When you face fear, it leaves you. Face the thing you fear, and it'll leave you. That's really the secret of it. In fact, if you hold yourself back because of fear, your life actually comes to a stop because nothing gets better than it is. You've got to be courageous. Now, courageous people aren't without fear. Courageous people are the ones that face their fear. I think Eddie Rickenbacker pointed that out, the great pilot. Don't let fear stop you. Make up your mind you're going to step out and do it. Stop and think of the number of people that are in jobs that they don't like and they're afraid to leave. Or people in relationships that are destructive and they're afraid to leave. This is a terrible way to live, and it's not necessary. It's just caused by ignorance. And when we step out and do something, we gain an awareness. We develop an understanding. And like that, the fear is gone. Make up your mind that fear is not going to stop you from doing the thing you really want to do. Step out and do it today.
Rule number 24, visualize.
And when I was 26, I had a man that sat down with me and he said, why don't you change the way you're living? It never entered my mind that I could. And looking back and thinking about it, I think there's all kinds of people wandering the planet. There's all kinds of athletes that are not getting the results they want, and they don't know they can change them.
Right, only one person can change.
There's only one person in the whole universe that can change Bob, and that's Bob.
Yeah.
There's only one person who can change Dave, and that's Dave. Now, we get inspired by other people, we get help from other people, but we've got to do it ourselves. And he gave me Think and Grow Rich, and he said, if you do exactly what I tell you, you can have anything you want. Well, I didn't believe that, but he was so adamant about it, I believed he believed it. And so I started to listen to him. And I set a goal. I wanted some money. I wanted $25,000. Now, this was in 1961, so it was more money then than it is today. But I didn't even know anyone with $25,000. He said, listen, write it on a card, keep reading the book, keep doing what I tell you. So I started to hear people talking about earning money. And there was one guy said, there's good money cleaning floors. You should clean floors. Well, I wasn't proud. I'd clean floors. And he said, but you should do it for yourself, not for somebody else. So he told me where I could buy a used floor machine, some buckets and mops, but I had to borrow $1,000. Well, I was at the point where nobody wanted to touch me with money. And I often say, I wouldn't have lent it to me. Right. Because I wouldn't pay it back. Not that I didn't want to, I just couldn't. But I found a guy and he lent me the $1,000.
When you borrow, excuse me, because I have a question, because I know you. When you borrowed that $1,000, because you owed people money already, you had explained that to people, you know, you were just finding yourself. But did you have a different feeling about when you borrowed this $1,000 that quite possibly you were actually going to be able to pay this back this time?
Do you know something? If I hadn't had that feeling, I wouldn't have got the money. I got it from a guy, I knew his name, Al Kuiper. He was running, and I didn't know him, he had a trust company. It was like a bank on Danforth Avenue in Toronto. And I went in, I read a book where it says, go to one bank and they will give you, go to another one. Well, I ended up sitting in his office and he said, what do you want this money for, son? And I told him I was going to build a cleaning company. It was going to be big. I had a dream. And I had to explain it all to him. He said, I think you'll do it. I'm going to lend you the money.
Faith.
But I knew when I was doing this, I had a picture, I had a dream, you see?
Yep.
And within a year, I was earning $175,000 a year. I had my billing up to $15,000 a month working for myself. In less than 5 years, we were working in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, and London, England. I had my own company opening offices all over the place.
Rule number 25, know what you want.
Why most people don't get what they want out of life? Is it...
Well, they don't know what they want.
That's right.
You see, I got this, and then I got Earl Nightingale's condensed narration of this on a long playing record. And I'd listen to that record over and over and over again. One day, I was in the business, in the cleaning business. I had salespeople, and I had them listen to this record. Every morning we listened to this record. And one day I said, you know, I'd love to meet him. And I didn't know who Earl Nightingale was. He was a voice on a record. That was it. I didn't even know where he lived. And a young guy that worked with me, he said, no, you wouldn't. He said, if you wanted to meet him, you'd go and meet him. I thought, damn, he's right. So I phoned, and I got an appointment with him. Now, at the time, he was the most listened to man in the history of the broadcasting industry. He was a radio broadcaster. And not an easy guy to get to, but I got to meet with him for an hour. I flew to Chicago. I spent an hour with him. And when I was leaving, I said, Earl, what's the big deal? You know? I mean, what's it all about? He said, there's no big deal. He said, it's very simple. He says, simply decide what you love to do and then dedicate your life to it. He said, the problem with most people, they don't know what they love to do. They never take the time to sit and ask themselves. What they're doing is trying to, I think I can get earn good money here. I could do it. You know, it's where can they earn some money? It's not what they love to do. Well, I was sitting there. Now, I had offices all over the place. I had a lot of people. I was earning a lot of money. And I got excited because I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to do what he was doing. And I made up my mind sitting in his office. That'd be somewhere around 1965. That I was going to go back and I was going to work with him. And in 1968, I moved to Chicago. I left my own company. I moved to Chicago and I started to work with him.
Rule number 26, be more patient.
We hear patience is a virtue. I suppose it probably is. But I think patience, real patience, is an expression of deep understanding. You see, everything happens when it's supposed to happen. Everything in this universe happens by law. We set targets and we need things to happen. We need something to come or someone to do something. And frequently we get frustrated because it isn't happening when we think it should happen. Our problem is we're not thinking. We believe we're in charge. We are not in charge. We are in charge of building the idea and holding the idea. Everything else happens automatic. It happens by law. All ideas have a gestation or an incubation period. I'm told when we plant a carrot in the area of the world that I live, it takes approximately 70 days for that carrot to grow and manifest in form. When the seed for the baby's planted, it takes approximately 280 days. And we're usually patient. We will wait the 280 days. Why? Because we know it's going to take approximately 280 days. Well, just because we don't know how long it's going to take doesn't mean that it isn't operating by the same laws. Everything operates by law. So if we gain an understanding that all the ideas in our mind will ultimately move into form. That's what Andrew Carnegie taught Napoleon Hill. Carnegie was Hill's mentor. He said any idea that's held in the mind, that's emphasized, that's either feared or revered, will begin at once to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate form available. You might want to listen to that 2 or 3 times. Burn it into your mind. Gain an understanding of it. And you will know that whatever you're working on takes a period of time. No one knows what the gestation period is for an idea. We only know we can shorten it through concentration, through focus. And when you understand that, you will become more patient. And when you're more patient, you're living in a much more beautiful vibration. You'll be a more pleasant person to be around. You will enjoy yourself more. Patience. It's the result of understanding.
Rule number 27, tap into your genius.
If you really analyze your beliefs, you'll change them.
Right.
I had a friend one time, I was trying to figure out where do beliefs come from. How do you, because all religion and all science will tell you got to believe it. William James from Harvard, 1900, he said, believe and your belief will create the fact. So belief is an interesting word. You got to believe it. And I was having lunch with a mentor one time, and he said, our belief system is based upon our evaluation of something. Frequently, if we reevaluate a situation, our belief about that situation will change. It was like bells were going off my head because I was trying to understand belief. How do you change your belief? Well, he told me, it's through reevaluation. And so I started to evaluate myself and reevaluate what I was doing. It took me 9.5 years, but I figured out why I changed. And it was the repetition of information.
Thank you.
You're in sports, you know, it's repetition.
Yep.
Repetition, repetition. Well, but practice doesn't make you perfect. Perfect practice makes you perfect. There's a big difference.
Great point.
And so I found that the part of our mind that controls our behavior is not the part of our mind that gathers information. School deals with the part of your mind that gathers information. And so we gather all kinds of information, and if we can remember it, they give us a test, we pass the test, we get the degree, and we're educated. That's not education at all. That is gathering information. Education, as Hill pointed out, comes from the Latin educo, meaning to reduce, to develop, or to draw from within. We have genius in us. We have absolute perfection in us. And what we have to do is learn how to tap into that, to let it out. But we have a part of our mind that controls our behavior, and that's where a paradigm is. And the paradigm literally controls our behavior. I don't care what you're doing. If you're not altering the paradigm, you're not going to improve your results. There's so much about ourselves we never learn. The part of our mind that controls us is our intellect, or our subconscious, where the paradigm is, but we're trained to live through our senses. We're trained to go by what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch. And we've got to understand that we've got this genius within us, and if we will consciously gain an awareness, an understanding of how to alter the paradigm that's controlling our behavior, when we learn that, we can start to improve life, just like that. And there's no end to what we're capable of doing. We're conditioned genetically. All mom's DNA and all dad's DNA becomes our DNA. There's two particles of energy come together, that's the moment of conception. 280 days later, we make our debut on the planet, then we're programmed by our environment. Because our subconscious mind, which is totally deductive, it has no ability to reject, the subconscious mind is immoral. It's like the earth. It doesn't care what you plant, but it'll return what you plant. Right. Earl Nightingale used a beautiful example in The Strangest Secret. He said, you can plant nightshade, a deadly poison, not a 16th of an inch away. You can plant corn, a sweet food. One will grow with just as great an abundance as the other. And that's the way your subjective mind works. You put the wrong idea in, it will grow. Put the right idea in, it will grow. We have the ability to change what's in there. We did not program it. It was programmed through genetic history. We're the confluence of a genetic pool that goes back for generations. That's at birth, and then environmentally. And we have the ability to alter all that.
Rule number 28, get good mentors.
See, any success I've had because I've got great mentors. And I'm a good student. Now, until I was 26, I was a terrible student. When I picked up this book, I became a great student. I've got thousands of books. I have an office at home in my home. It's got a couple of thousand books in it, and then I built a studio, and I've got a couple of thousand books in the studio. And I love reading. But the success that I've enjoyed is because of the mentors or the coaches I've had. I would do exactly what they tell me. And if I coach somebody today and they don't do exactly what I tell them, I don't coach them anymore. Just like that, it's all over.
It's not ready.
Well, it's not that only that they're not ready, but if I'm going to coach somebody and they're not doing what I tell them, I'm wasting my time and theirs too. Now, if they want to waste their time, that's their prerogative. I'm not going to waste mine.
Rule number 29, practice forgiveness.
You know, forgiving is one of the most freeing concepts anybody can ever get involved with. Most people look at forgiveness as helping the other person. Somebody hurts you, somebody does you wrong, but you're going to forgive them. You're going to be kind to them. It has nothing to do with the other person. It has to do with yourself. That's really what it has to do. See, forgiveness is a cleansing concept. It's clearing the mind of all negativity, clearing the mind of anything that might go wrong. It's a very freeing concept. If you were to do some harm to me and I forgive you, you haven't got anything to do with it. It's I'm letting go of something that was bothering me, that's negative. And I don't want to hold on to that. Forgiving frees the one that's doing the forgiving. It's a phenomenal concept. Forgive means to let go of completely, abandon, let it go. Don't hold on to it. You know, if somebody does you wrong, you have to ask yourself, wonder why they would do that. There's something bothering them. They're not really trying to hurt you. It's something that's bothering them. Let it go. Just forgive it. Forgive the idea. And I guarantee you, you'll feel a lot better.
Rule number 30, develop confidence.
And one of the greatest hang-ups that people have is the belief in themselves. They suffer from something called self-doubt. Many years ago, I read something. It was by Ralph Waldo Emerson. It was his essay on self-reliance. That's what we want to do. We want to rely on self. And in that, he said, there would come a time in every person's education when they'd realize that envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide. So many people look at someone that's doing very well, possibly in the same field they're in, and envy them. Do you know what that's saying? That's saying, I don't know that I have the same mental faculties you've got. I'm drawing on the same potential that you're drawing on. There is only one mind. I don't know that. So I'm going to envy you thinking you can do something I'm not able to do. The truth is, if you can do it, I can do it. Envy is ignorance. It's not knowing that. And he said, imitation is suicide. Do you know that nothing in this universe would move in the precise order it moves in your absence? That's true. Everything in the universe is essential. You take any part away from anything, it's not complete. And everything in the universe moves in a very precise way. So do you see, we shouldn't even want to be like anybody else because we are unique. We are truly unique. There's something like about us that you'll never find in another person. We're unique. And we've got the godlike ability to think. Now, what is self-doubt? Self-doubt is the opposite of self-confidence. Confidence comes from understanding. Like I would imagine you're confident you can drive your car. In fact, you're so confident that you'll be talking to somebody on the phone, you'll get in the car, you'll start the car, you'll drive, and you'll drive maybe 4 or 5 blocks, not even being aware of what you've done. It's all done automatic. Your concentration is on the conversation you're on. Now, when you first got in a car, you couldn't do that. The car was probably jumping all over the place, and you thought you'd never learn how to drive it. But you learned how to drive it. Now you're quite confident. You're confident that you can get dressed when you get up in the morning. When you were a little boy or a little girl, you couldn't do that. You had to be taught to do it. Well, you know, self-confidence comes, like all confidence, it comes with knowledge. And the more you study you, the more you understand who you are, the more confident you'll become in your ability to do whatever it is you're doing. And you'll know that if you lack confidence in an area, it's because you lacked information in that area. Never doubt yourself. And when you do, understand that the cause of that doubt is not lying within you, it's in wrong thinking, it's in not understanding who you are. Study yourself. Self-study will develop self-confidence, and self-confidence eliminates self-doubt.
Rule number 31, move into action.
You know, Don Shula, the coach of the old Miami Dolphins, he said it's the start that stops most people. And he's right. It is the start that stops most people. They're always going to get ready, to get set, to get going. What we've got to do is, boom, just like that, move into action. See, if you don't get started, you're never going to get finished. How do we do that? Start early. I believe when you wake up, you should get up. The second you wake up, get your feet hit the floor. Move into action. And you know, you'd be wise if you sit down at night before you go to bed and write down 6 goal-achieving activities. Now, that isn't go to the store, or go to the bank or get to cleaning. It's not that. These are goal-achieving activities. Write down 6 of them. And when you wake up in the morning, you move into action. You know where you're going to go. You don't even have to think about it. Step into action and get on the first one. When you get it done, forget it and go to the second one. Don't think about the first one. Focus on 2. Don't even think about 3. When you get 2 done, go to 3. But knock them off one at a time. If you don't get them all done, just move them over on to the next day. Now that doesn't mean if you only get 3 done that you have 9 the next day. There are 3 of the 6 that you're going to do the next day. 6 goal-achieving activities. And when you wake up in the morning, move into action on them. Quit holding yourself back. Don't wait. You say, well, I really don't know how I'm going to get started, and the way will show itself. It just appears. I have found when you get started, when you move into action, everything starts to happen around you.
Rule number 32, have a strong why.
I have worked all over the world. I mean, all over Asia, China, South America, North America, Europe. And I'm always asking people, what do you really want? And I have found most people don't want to be really wealthy. What they do want is they don't want to have any financial concerns. If they want to buy a new suit, they can go and get one. If they want to take a trip, they can take the trip. If they want a new car, they can get the new car. They don't want to just run out and spend or buy. They don't want to have any financial concerns. 2, they want to wake up in the morning excited about how they're going to spend their day. Oof. And the 3rd, they want to mix with people who are upbeat and creatively productive. Those are the 3 things that people really want. So in answer to your question, if somebody's watching, what's the first thing they should do? Well, the first thing they should do is understand why we have goals. Not just to set a goal, because most people don't set goals right. They're operating with a limited level of consciousness, so they're thinking, if I could get a little more money, and if I could get him to help me and her to help me, and this happened, then I could do this. Maybe this is get a new car. What we've got to understand is we're trading our life for our goals. Literally trading our life. Would you trade your life for a car or a house? I don't think so. So it's got to be something really meaningful. And we're not taught to think this way. We should sit down and don't give any thought to where the money's going to come from, where the help's going to come from. It's what do you really want? Like Ed Hillary was a beekeeper in Auckland.
That story.
He wanted to climb Mount Everest. It had never been done. People died trying to do it. He went in 51 and failed. He went back in 52 and failed. In 1953, he stood on top of the mountain with Tenzing Norgay. But he didn't know how to get there until after he had got there. Edison didn't know how to illuminate the world until after he had done it. The Wright brothers were bicycle mechanics in Dayton, Ohio. No one believed you could fly. They had been trying it for years.
But they saw it.
But they wanted to do it. They didn't know how, and they couldn't tell you until after they had done it. Now, the first flight only lasted 12 seconds. And the naysayer said, yeah, but they only were up there for 12 seconds. They said, we not only got up there, we kept the damn thing up there for 12 seconds. So when a person sets a goal, they've got to say, what could I want? If I just let my mind just wander, use my imagination, how do I really want to live? That's what they should be doing.
Rule number 33, start with a vision.
Most people don't use their imagination constructively. Most people use their imagination destructively. They imagine what they don't want. We've got to consciously and deliberately imagine what we do want. If we will take and sit down with a pen and ask ourselves, what do I really want? What do I really want? And write it down. And then Make a written description of it in the present tense. Writing causes thinking. Thinking creates an image. And you get these images going, you're building a vision in your mind. It's the visionaries that's changed the world. Think of that. The fact that I can sit and look into this camera, and you can sit and look at me on your phone, or on your TV, or on your laptop. That was the result of somebody's vision. Do you know everything you've got, the clothes you wear, the house you live in, this microphone that's in front of me? It was all the result of somebody's vision. It's not an accident. You and I have a marvelous imagination. And everything starts with a vision. Van Gogh was asked how he did such beautiful work. He said, first I dream my painting, and then I paint my dream.
Rule number 34, improve your self-image.
You know, Dr. Maxwell Maltz wrote a book back around 1960. It was called Self-Image Psychology, Psycho-Cybernetics. It's a phenomenal book. He said it was the greatest discovery of his generation. He was a cosmetic or reconstructive surgeon, and he found he would do work on people. He might have done a nose job or removed a terrible scar. And he noticed that when he did that, there was a phenomenal change in their personality. But he noticed with others, he would make a phenomenal physical change and there was no change in their personality. And that led him to postulate that we have two images. We have the one that's coming back from the mirror, but we've got an inner image. And that inner self-image is literally controlling our life. You will find people that have a very poor self-image or low self-esteem. They won't look you straight in the eye. They're afraid to shake hands with you. They're very shy and withdrawn. They go through life hiding from life. They don't like themselves. They don't know themselves. Do you know when a person improves their self-image, they change their entire life? Their income changes, their relationship changes, their health changes. And do you know how you do that? Start studying you. Start to find out more about you. There's something phenomenal about you. Do you know when I began to study this material 57 years ago, I had very poor self-image. I had low self-esteem. I took dumb jobs. I never earned any money. I never had fun. I had poor relationships. And as I started to study real solid information, everything in my life started to improve. I've got friends all over the world today. I earn millions of dollars. I'm in my 80s and I got as much energy as a person in their 30s. Do you see, when you start to understand really who you are, you're God's highest form of creation. There's things about you that just about blow your mind as you start to study and really understand them. You'll walk a little taller. You'll stand a little straighter. And you know something? You'll enjoy a whole lot more of life.
Rule number 35, develop awareness.
You've got to wake up. You see, all we're ever going to get is awareness. We've already got everything. The only thing we lack is the awareness of what we've got. We're God's highest form of creation. There's nothing on the planet that will equal us. Well, that's all any of us are after. That's all the problems in the world come from ignorance. That's the purpose of life, to overcome ignorance, develop awareness. The only way to overcome ignorance is through knowledge. And the only way to get the knowledge is to study. Most people, they finish school, close the book, say, that's over. I'm never going to open another book as long as I live. They're screwed. It's all over.
Rule number 36, make decisions.
You know, Napoleon Hill, in Think and Grow Rich, wrote an entire chapter on decision. Most people never make decisions. They have a difficult time with it. Why is that? I think they have a difficult time because their parents made decisions for them until they were too old. And they never learned how to make them. Do you know, the one thing that I did with my kids, I never made a decision for them. They didn't like it. They'd say, come on, don't do that to me. And I said, no, what do you think you should do? And I'd leave it at that. Decision making is a phenomenal concept. And you're going to find out, as he points out in here, that successful people make decisions very fast and they change them very slow, if and when they change them at all. And he said the people that have difficulty in life make their decisions very slow and then change them fast and often.
And you know, decision making is a funny thing. You and I think on frequencies. If we could see a bunch of lines and we're thinking on a frequency, and we're on this frequency here, and we're saying, I'm going to do that when this changes. This is never going to change until you get up on this frequency. See, the good that you're after is on a higher frequency than you're operating on, a greater awareness. And if you're down here and you're thinking here on this frequency, and the good you want up here, you got to get your mind up there. How do you get up there? Make the decision, be there. And that's really what you have to do. The second you make a decision, you flip your brain onto a different frequency, and you start to attract things to you that you'd never get without making the decision.
Rule number 37, get out of the box.
See, someone woke me up. That's all I want to do with someone else. What the man said to me, the first guy, he said, you can have whatever you want. Well, you know, you get thinking that you can get out of the box. That's why you've been given an imagination, to get out of the box. It's with your imagination that you build images of what you want. And if you can build the image, you can do it. You can hold it in your head, you can hold it in your hand. When we understand that, like I would imagine this goes out to a lot of athletes, does it? Well, they can have anything they want. They got to pay the price. And when doubt comes in, kick it out. You can't afford the doubt.
Rule number 38, grow yourself.
If I want to do something, I find somebody that's already done it. And then I do exactly what they tell me. It's a simple rule to follow. I don't read novels. I don't watch movies. I'd watch documentaries or things like that where I can learn. I'm only interested in studying something that can cause me to become more of what I'm capable of being. See, I think we're all hardwired to do something really special with our life. And that's all I want to do. I'm really good at what I do. I could walk by a person in the hall and like that, I could tell them exactly what they're like. I could read their energy like a book. Everything goes on the inside, shows on the outside. See, we're gifted with faculties of the mind that the average person knows nothing about. You have intuition, the will, reason, imagination, perception, memory. That's what separates us from all the rest of forms of life. We go through school and never learn anything about it. Like you'll hear people say they have a bad memory. There's no such thing as a bad memory. Everybody has a perfect memory. It's just weak. They've never developed it. Our imagination. Your imagination is the most magnificent. Hill said it's the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force the world's ever known. I can use my imagination to project myself into the future and bring the future into the present and start living there. You work from the imagination. You don't work to it. You work from it.
Backwards from the result.
Yeah.
Rule number 39, surround yourself with greatness.
You know, the people you surround yourself with have a phenomenal impact on your life. I think it was Carl Menninger from the Menninger Foundation one time said, environment is more important than heredity. The people we're surrounded by have a greater bearing on our life and our success in life than what's built into the genes at birth. There's genetic conditioning, there's environmental conditioning. Well, this environmental conditioning goes on all the way through life. You will find as you improve the quality of your life, improve your thinking, you're going to attract a different group of people into your life. And they are going to add to your life. See, the people we're surrounded by, their thinking is going right into our mind. We want to mix with people who are really making it happen. Take a look at your 5 people that you're with most often and ask yourself, if I have children, would I want them to grow up be like them? If the answer is no, you better start looking for some new friends. If the answer is yes, you're already in the right circle of people. Think about what I'm saying. The people we're surrounded with have a phenomenal impact on our life and help make us who we are.
Rule number 40, believe.
William James from Harvard said, believe and your belief will create the fact. All things are possible if you believe. Well, you know, I studied for a long time. I started to study this book, Think and Grow Rich. And he talks about belief in here. He says you're not ready for what you want until you believe you can get it. I found that the only two sources of reference we could go to find out anything about ourselves is science and religion. They all say you've got to believe. So I got figuring out, how do you believe? How do you change a belief? Interesting subject, because I'm going to tell you something. Your results are nothing but the manifestation of your belief system. Well, our belief system, now listen carefully, is based upon our evaluation of something. And frequently when we reevaluate a situation, our belief about that situation will change. Let me repeat that. Our belief system is based upon our evaluation of something. Frequently, if we reevaluate a situation, our belief about it will change. I began reevaluating who I was. I started to study. I never stopped studying. And I found as I reevaluated, I had a much higher opinion of myself. I found out things about me that I would have never believed if you had told me. The power that's locked up within us, the marvelous system we've got. Do you know the blood circulates through your veins every 33 seconds, through hundreds of miles of passageway, bang, just like that, clears all the food in and all the garbage out. Stop and think of the central nervous system. It's the most complex electrical system in the world. And you've got it. Think of your brain, an electronic switching station like that. You can change the vibration of yourself and everything around you. We have awesome powers, and it's all based on what you believe about you.
Rule number 41, trade your life for worthy goals.
You know, the law of success is a pretty interesting concept. There's been books written on it, stories told on it. Lives have been spent looking for it. Let's understand that everything operates by law. The whole universe operates by law. The best definition of success I have ever heard was one that Earl Nightingale originated way back in 1959. He said, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Well, let's break that down for a moment. Success is the progressive, continually moving, progressive realization, constant awareness of a worthy ideal. An ideal is an idea that you have fallen in love with. An ideal is an idea that you're intellectually, emotionally, and physically involved with. An ideal is an idea that you've fallen in love with. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So you don't ask, are you worthy of the idea? Are you worthy of the good? Is it worthy of you? Now you're getting in to law of success. Is it worthy of you? You see, what you're going to do is trade your life. You're trading your life for whatever it is you're going after. So you want to make up your mind, whatever your goal happens to be, whatever you are pursuing, make certain it's worthy of you because you're trading your life for it. The law of success calls for you to continually moving toward a predetermined objective in life and bringing your life in harmony with the laws that govern the entire universe.
Rule number 42, manage your activities.
Think of this for a moment. Do you know that every living soul gets exactly the same amount of time? Exactly the same amount of time. Figure it out. You get all there is. A hobo sleeping under a bridge or on a park bench that has no material possessions, none, does nothing of any constructive nature. That person gets exactly the same amount of time as the most productive industrialist in the world. We all get exactly the same amount of time. So it's what we do with the time that makes a difference. Now, I want you to think of the number of time management programs. Almost everyone under the sun has time management programs. In fact, I made one time, spent a lot of money on it. And then I found out it was a dumb waste of time and money. Do you know why? Time can't be managed. I was having breakfast with Earl Nightingale one morning. It was downtown Chicago, and I was going with him on a speaking engagement, and it was early in the morning. He said, "Do you want to meet for breakfast?"
Whenever Earl Nightingale said, you want to meet me, I was there, and I always had some well-prepared questions. And I remember asking him, I said, Earl, how did you learn how to master time management? You know, we're having breakfast. I can still hear his fork hit the plate. He said, what the hell are you talking about? He said, I've never mastered time management. Nobody masters time management. He said, time can't be managed. He said, I merely manage activity. And he took a little card out of his pocket. And he said, every night before I go to bed, I write down 6 most important things I have to do tomorrow. These are goal-achieving activities. And when I wake up, that's what I start working on. And if I don't get them all done, I'll add them to tomorrow's list. You should have about 6. Now, if I have 3 that I didn't get done today, that doesn't mean I have 9 for tomorrow, like 6 plus these 3. Those 3 become part of the 6 you have to do the next day. When you wake up, you give all your conscious attention to do those things. See, you cannot manage time, but you can manage activity. You can manage your activities. Make certain that what you're doing really makes a difference. Make certain that you're spending your time on activities that are productive, that are taking you in the direction of your goal.
Rule number 43, study yourself.
I met a man here in Toronto. He was the one that originally got me involved in studying this, Ray Stanford. And he told me if I didn't like the results I was getting in my life, that I was going to have to change me because they were my results. And he said, if you're going to change you, you're going to have to find out something about yourself. And that seemed to make sense. I don't think it was an earth-shattering idea. It wouldn't give anybody a brain hernia, but it made a hell of a lot of sense to me. So I started to study myself. I found most people don't know who they are. They really don't.
What do you mean? I mean, I know my name, I know my age, I know where I live.
Yeah, that's not
what
you,
else
though.
Is there?
You know, that's
what
just
size,
it. If you ask the average person who they are, they'll give you their name. They'll say, I'm Bob Proctor, but I'm not. Bob and Proctor are 2 words. My parents give them to me. They're called names, but it's not me. It's my name. Then somebody will say, well, this is me, but this isn't me either. It's my body. Like, you never phone down here to the studio and say, body won't be in today. It's sick.
Okay.
You know, we don't say am hand or am leg. It's my hand, my leg, my body, my name. Who am I? Well, that's an interesting question. And I believe if a person will start to study that and look for the answer, they'll find it. See, I think we live simultaneously on 3 planes of understanding. We're spiritual creatures, we have an intellect, and we live in physical bodies.
Okay.
But because we lack awareness or understanding of who we are, we're totally locked into a physical world, and we let things outside of us control us. 95% of the population are reacting to life. They're not really living at all.
Rule number 44, study your will.
When President John Kennedy asked the father of the space program, the famous Dr. Wernher von Braun, what it would take to build a rocket that would carry a person to the moon and bring him back safely to Earth, he answered him in 5 words: the will to do it. The will to do it. Pretty light, simple answer for such an enormous question. But I'm going to tell you something, the will to do it, that had a lot of power in it. What do we mean by that, the will to do it? Well, will is one of your higher faculties. You have perception, reason, memory, imagination, intuition, and the will. Will is a mental faculty that gives you the ability to hold one idea on the screen of the mind to the exclusion of all outside distractions. You know, you'd be hard-pressed to figure out how many things are trying to grab your attention at any given time. But there's all kinds of things going on around that are begging your conscious attention. You can block them all out and keep one idea on the screen of the mind with your will. Will is a mental faculty that gives you the ability to hold one idea on the screen of the mind to the exclusion of all outside distractions. It's the will that gives you the ability to concentrate. Concentration is a powerful mental tool. How do you develop your will? I'll tell you. You take your pen or a little black marker and go opposite to your favorite chair. There's a wall opposite your favorite chair. Put a little dot on the wall. Do it when nobody sees you doing it, and nobody will ever notice the dot's there. Every time you sit in that favorite chair, focus on that dot. Bring all of your conscious attention to bear on the dot. Now, when you look at your mind will wander. That's okay. Don't feel bad because it wandered. Bring it back to the dot. Every time it wanders, if you concentrate on that dot for
a half a second, you'll probably set a family record. Our mind is so busy. You focus on the dot, you find your mind wander. Don't feel bad, bring it back to the dot. You can get to the point where you can concentrate for quite a while. And I'm telling you, you concentrate for a while, you're developing great powers. Or get a candle in a candle holder and put it somewhere around your favorite chair. When you're alone, light the candle and stare at the flame. And stare at that flame until you mentally become one with the flame. Now again, your mind's going to wander. Don't feel bad about it. Bring it back to the flame. Just bring it back to the flame. When you learn to concentrate on one thing, you can concentrate on anything, because that is how you develop your will.
Rule number 45, serve.
Opportunity is an interesting word. And like most words, it's misunderstood. See, the average person is looking at opportunity as something they're going to get. So they're out looking to get something. Opportunity is what you're going to give. See, it's the person that's thinking of an idea. How can I do more? How can I provide more service for the people we provide service for? Do you know I spend almost all of my time thinking of how I can help you more than I'm helping you? I'm here in my studio. We spent $1 million building this studio so that I can communicate more effectively with our clients. Opportunity is in giving. It's not receiving. It's not getting, it's giving. It's sharing. It's putting something out there.
Rule number 46, get real success.
Success is a funny word. Nightingale had a great definition for it. He said a person's successful if they know where they are and they know where they're going and they're progressively moving in that direction. He said that success was the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Anyone that has a goal and they're moving towards it, they're successful. Most people think that you're successful if you have a lot of money. Quite often you have a lot of money if you're successful, but it isn't. I wouldn't say Mother Teresa has a lot of money.
Okay.
You know, but she's a pretty successful lady.
Rule number 47, use your imagination.
Attracting what you actually want. I think James Allen put it very well in his little book, As a Man Thinketh. He said, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. Now think about that. If you want to attract what you want, you've got to see yourself already with it. You've got to understand that you've already got it. First of all, clearly understand this. Nothing is created or destroyed. That means everything's already here. If not in one state, certainly in another. Where did the iPhone come from? The iPhone came from a series of ideas that individuals entertained in their mind. And they kept holding the idea until the stuff came to them that enabled them to build the phone. The stuff had already been here. Nothing is created or destroyed. All science, all theology teach that. If nothing's created or destroyed, everything that is already here. Our problem is we've got to wait until we see it outside before we believe we've got it. Start dealing with the non-physical world, with the invisible world, with the world that you can't see through these little peepers that you've got here we call eyes. Start to see yourself mentally. You've been given the faculties to do that. Use your imagination. See yourself already in possession of the good you desire. That will flip your mind onto a specific frequency, and you do think on frequencies. It's on that frequency that good you desire is going to start coming toward you, and you will start moving toward it. If you want to attract what you actually want, you've got to see yourself now already with it. And know it's only a period of time until you moving toward it and it moving toward you, and you become one with it.
Rule number 48, shift your paradigm.
Stop and think of any large company. I don't care, anyone.
Right.
You can go to the leaders of that company and you can say, who are your stars? I mean the ones that are really making it happen. And they've all got a few. Say, what are they doing that's so different? Why don't you find out what they're doing and teach it to everybody? Oh, well, everybody couldn't do it. Why are they doing it? You know something? The stars don't know why they're stars. And they'll say, well, they're smart. Some of them aren't very smart. Smart's got nothing to do with it. They have shifted their paradigm. They've knocked the wall down and they built an image and they followed the rules. They just didn't know what they were doing. I didn't know what I was doing. I was earning over $1 million a year. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I'd say I was cleaning offices. That was almost incidental.
what I was doing, I was reading this every day. I was listening to the recordings every day. I was reprogramming my subconscious mind.
Rule number 49, control your happiness.
Everybody wants to be happy, but not everybody is happy. You know, I could take you back to the man that gave me this book, Ray Stanford. I was a very unhappy individual. I was a sad soul, believe me. And I remember one day he said, Proctor, you're going to have to change. He said, would you like to be happy? Well, I used to think that was something that happened to some people, but you weren't in control of it. I really never knew that I could control my own happiness. I did not know that. And I'm going to tell you something. There's a whole lot of people who do not know that. Otherwise, you wouldn't find so many people who are pretty sad. He said, I'm going to tell you a secret, Proctor. And he said, if you get it, you can benefit from this till you're a very old man. He said, you are in control of your own happiness. Now he said, I'm going to tell you why you're not happy. There's a power or a thought energy flowing into your consciousness. And you know what you do? You bottle it all up inside. All of your energy is focused on you. You are the only thing you think about. Poor me. I wished I had some money. I wished. But your thoughts are always about yourself. If you find someone else to help, if you can help someone, and I'm going to tell you, there's a whole lot of people out there want help. If you will focus on helping other people, you're going to be one happy cat. Now, I don't think I got it right away. But he knew probably I wasn't going to get it right away. And so every time I saw him, he said, who you been helping? Well, I don't know. See, I wasn't helping anybody. I was trying to figure out how to get some money, how to help me. I want you to think about this for a moment. There's so many people need help. Chapter 14 in The Science of Getting Rich is a powerful concept. Leave everyone with the impression of increase. If you do that, you're helping people. Happiness is always found in the person who is focusing on helping other people.
And rule number 50, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is get unstuck.
What keeps people stuck month after month, year after year? 90-some% of the population are stuck. You've got people graduating with all kinds of degrees, and the results wouldn't indicate that they know very much at all. Most people don't understand what's going on inside. There's something that's stopping them, and it's called a paradigm. See, when paradigms are in control, nothing changes. Nothing. And that's why most people, they get the same results year after year. People know how to do better than they're doing. The problem is they don't know why they're not doing what they know how to do. See, it's the paradigm that produces the result. And if we're going to change the result, there's only one way to do it. Just one. You're going to change the paradigm.
A man's environment is a merciless mirror of him as a human being. And if he thinks his environment can stand a little improvement, all he has to do is improve, and his environment will improve to reflect the changing man.
All knowledge, all power is 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. Your spiritual DNA is perfect, so is mine. There's perfection within. What we've got to learn is draw it out. When you're going ahead, the only thing you can measure is what you're giving up. What about what's coming? You know what's coming? What you want.